Welcome back everybody to another Crocodile Dundee build video. Today I'll be going over my Stamina Dragonknight. Alright, let's get into it. So, to begin with, we'll go over to the character sheet. Race, you want to be an Orc ideally, but I'm a Dark Elf. Stamina, you want 64 points. For your Mundus, you want the Shadow Stone. And for your food, you either want Dubious Cameron Throne or you want Artane Takeaway Broth if you can afford it. Going into gear, you want 5-piece Perfected Reliquins on the body. I don't have it, so I'm using just normal Reliquins. For your other 5-piece, you want Deadly or you want Perfected Tooth of Lachesis. Perfected Tooth of Lachesis in an actual raid will pull more damage if you can get 100% uptime, but otherwise use Deadly Strike. It's also just as good. For your enchants and your traits, you want all of it in Divines and you want all of it in Stamina enchants. For your jewelry, you want all weapon damage enchants and you want all bloodthirsty. Though if you're in a trial and you need to push bosses into specific health thresholds, then it's a good idea to have one or two of them infused rather than bloodthirsty. For your weapons, you're going to want the VMA dual wield set. You want a dagger and an axe, doesn't matter what hand they're in. All that matters is that you have the traits in the right hand. So you want your main hand trait to be Nernhoned and you want your offhand trait to be sharpened. And with that, you're going to want double dot poisons. So don't worry about enchants. You can make these poisons with Nirnroot, Nightshade, and Fleshfly Lava, I believe. For your back bar weapon, you want the Master's Bow. You want it infused with a weapon damage enchant. Next, going over your skills. On your front bar, you want Barbed Trap, Rapid Strikes, Rending Slashes, Consuming Trap, Venomous Claw, and Flawless Stormbreaker. On your back bar, you want Molten Whip, Flames of Oblivion, Noxious Breath, Poison Injection, Arrow Barrage, and Standard of Might. Just a quick note, the reason we have Flawless Stormbreaker this patch still, even though it got nerfed, is that the 3% extra weapon damage that you're going to get from Slayer passive is going to be better than any other thing that you could slot there as an ultimate, because unlike a lot of the other classes, the Dragonknight does not get any bonuses from its passives toward damage just for having a ultimate slotted. So we just keep Flawless Stormbreak there because it's a better than nothing type deal. And on your back bar, this Molten Whip slot here is going to be your flex spot. The reason it's here is for a little bit of extra weapon damage whenever you cast an Ardent Flame ability. You're not going to be able to keep up 3 stacks or even 2 stacks. Really, it's just there because, like Dawnbreaker, it's a better than nothing sort of thing to have in your slot. Though if you're in a trial and you need to heal yourself, or if you're in a dungeon or whatever, then you can swap out Molten Whip with Resolving Vigor or Ring of Preservation or whatever you want. It's not going to make too much of a difference to your damage. This is really your kind of utility slot. Going over passives, you want everything under Ardent Flame, everything under Draconic Power, everything under Earthen Heart. For your weapons, you want everything under your dual wield passives. You want all of your bow passives. For your armor, you only want these 4 passives because you're not wearing any light or heavy armor, so it doesn't matter. The one passive you don't have to worry about is Improved Sneak. It's not going to help with your damage, but you can have that if you want. But though it's not necessary, unlike the other 4. Under Soul Magic, it's nice to have Soul Shatter and Soul Summons, though they're not necessary. They're kind of just there as a sort of thing you can have. For your Fighters Guild, you want Intimidating Presence, Slayer, Banish the Wicked, Skill Tracker, all of them maxed out. Undaunted, you want Undaunted Command, 2 out of 2, and Undaunted Metal, 2 out of 2. These really help with your sustain and your overall stat pools. For Assault, you don't want anything, you just want Vigor unlocked because it helps. Your racial passives, you want all of them. And under Alchemy, you want Medicinal Use, 3 out of 3. It's not necessary to have any of these filled in. I only have them because I make potions. But if you need to get to 50 Alchemy really quickly, what you can do is you can, because you can multi-craft in the Scalebreaker patch, what you can do is you can just make some really cheap poisons using some materials that you have a lot of, and then you can just max out a stack of those, and it'll get you to 50 in literally 10 seconds. But anyway, that's all of the passives and skills. So I'll go over champion points quickly and then the rotation. For your green CPs, you want 3 into Warlord, 49 Tenacity, 43 Arcanist, and 100 Mooncalf. This Arcanist looks kind of out of place, but since we're using 2 Magicka abilities, we want a little bit of Magicka recovery. It really helps. You can be, if you're a vampire, you don't need any points into Arcanist. You can just put all of that back into the tower somewhere. But I'm not, so I have a little bit of mag recovery because it helps. Though in an actual trial, you probably won't even need it either because generally speaking, you'll have something like Ellie Drain on the boss, which really helps. Which, another note, if you're passing on a 6 million dummy, it's actually helpful to have somebody give you Ellie Drain. it really helps with just keeping up that magicka. And finally into the shadow, you want 75 into tumbling, so you can get the treasure hunter passive, which gives you more stuff in your chest. So if you don't care about that, you can put some of those points back into here, somewhere back into here. The reason I have 75 into tumbling is because I do a lot of roll dodging, though in theory you could split that 75 or whatever amount that you've put in there between tumbling and shadow ward. That way you get a little bit of reduction on block and on roll dodge. Blue CPs now. Nothing into the apprentice. In the Atronach you want 37 into Master at Arms. Sorry. Into the Ritual you want 66 into Thaumaturge, 52 Precise Strikes, 51 Piercing, and 64 into Mighty. Your red trees is not really important what's here for me right now because it's going to be changing depending on what trial you do, so I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, now we go into the pass. A quick note before we go into the pass, you want to make sure you're using Essence of Weapon Power potions whenever you're trying to deal some real damage. You can make these with Dragonthorn, Blessed Thistle, and Wormwood. You can replace Wormwood with Water Hyacinth if you really want to, but personally I don't because Water Hyacinth is more expensive. Plus it's used for Essence of Spell Power potions, which are in themselves very expensive, though I use those for my Magicka characters, so I generally don't. Okay, so going over the rotation quickly. A quick note, actually, before we start. Whenever you're passing, you want to be using Lavafoot, Soup, and Sultries as your food, because it's going to give you a lot of sustain during these passes. Plus, in an actual trial, it kind of simulates the amount of stam back that you would probably get if you had Orbs and more synergies and Arcugams and the Master's Restoration stuff, all of those things. So some people don't like you to use pass food on a 21 mil. I think it's fine because yeah, you're not really going to have any troubles sustaining in an actual raid. Anyway, that's the food you want to use for a pass. Though in an actual content, you would still use Dubious or our Tame Takeaway Broth. Okay, so rotation. To begin the rotation, let me just start off by saying that it's a very easy rotation. It's static. There's a slight variation you can use to make it dynamic. We'll pull a bit more damage, but it's a lot more difficult to kind of keep track of. I like my static rotations because it means I can focus on mechanics and things that kill me rather than being a pass bot on the boss. Anyway, so to begin the rotation is split into 2 halves. The first rotation will be casting Flames of Oblivion. The second won't be, and I'll be showing you that. So the first half of the rotation is Arrow Barrage, Poison Injection, Noxious Breath, Flames of Oblivion swap. And then it's Rapid Strikes, Venomous Claw, Beast Trap, Soul Trap, Rapid Strikes, Running / swap. So the second half of the rotation is Arrow Barrage, Poison Injection, Noxious Breath swap, Rapid Strikes, Venomous Claw, Barb Trap, Consuming Soul Trap, 2 Rapid Strikes, Running / swap. So the difference between the first and the second half of the rotation is that in the rotation where you cast Flames of Oblivion, you'll be using Rapid Strikes once before Raining Slashes, and when you don't re-up Flames of Oblivion second time round, you'll be doing 2 Rapid Strikes before Raining Slashes. It's a slight deviation from a completely static thing, but other than that, it's really easy. It's easy to remember. Alright, so to begin the actual rotation, so when you're starting at the fight, what you want to do is you want to use Flames of Oblivion 3 times to stack up Seething Fury stacks. That'll give you 3 stacks to start. It's a bit of weapon damage, it helps. But otherwise, if you have a heal there or whatever, instead of Molten Whip, you just want to use Flames of Oblivion once, so you're not wasting too much magicka. So the rotation is 3 times Flames of Oblivion. You swap to your front bar, and then Beast Trap, and you swap to your back bar. And once you're on your back bar, it'll be Barrage, Injection, Noxious Breath, and then you'll be doing the double Rapid Strikes before rending rotation. And when you come back to your back bar, it's business as usual. So Hail, Injection, Noxious, Flames, Rapid, Claw, Trap, 1 Rapids because we just cast Flames, Rending. Now we're on the one where we don't cast it, so it'll be the same thing again, except we do 2 Rapids before Rending Slashes, just like that. So, pretty easy, very easy to remember. Okay, but however, the way you get big damage with this build is get really good at weaving your abilities. Now, that goes beyond just light attack animation cancelling, because that's pretty easy. There are 3 animation cancels in this build that you can use that will really improve your DPS by a lot, and I don't mean a small amount. So if you want to get good at this build, you have to do them. So the first and the most easy animation cancel is the weapon swap cancel of Rending Slashes. So Rending Slashes, that animation, as soon as the animation plays, you've already applied both the 2 direct damage portions of the ability and the dot instantly. So basically, as soon as you press the button, you're applying that dot, which is helpful because what we can do is we can weapon swap that animation. And if you do it fast enough, both the animation won't play and it won't make the sound. So like that. See, if you can look underneath the health bar of the Atro though, that bleed that you get from Rending Slashes still applies, even though we're weapon swapping it like that. So, that animation cancel on the tail end of the front bar rotation really helps with your damage, because you want to make sure you keep this rotation as tight as possible. So that animation cancel doesn't really need much more explaining, really easy. Okay, but the second animation cancel, which can be a bit difficult for people, is the bash cancel of Hail. So what you want to do is when you cast Arrow Barrage, you want to tap the block button. As you can see, it cuts the animation short and casts it instantly, rather than going through the entire animation, which is really long. Wastes a lot of time. A way you can tell if you're doing it properly is that you see these sort of floaty, buggy arrows. When you animation cancel Hail, that's what happens. You get a sort of a floater. But if you do it properly, it doesn't appear. So a good way to tell when you're practicing whether you're doing it properly is that you'll be shooting out these tiny little buggy arrows that kind of just float towards the target. Yeah, apart from that, that is the second easiest cancel, but going on to the final and most difficult cancel is the Beast Trap cancel. So to cancel Beast Trap, you don't just want to block cancel, you want to bash cancel it. So to bash cancel, basically, as soon as you cast the ability, you want to hold right click and bash. Like that. As you can see, the animation does not play at all. If I do it properly. Yeah, there we go. As you can see, it chucks down the trap, but the animation for throwing it down doesn't play. Now this animation cancel can be a bit finicky. I personally don't like to do it because of my ping, but if you can get good at it, it will increase your DPS, because it'll make sure that the downtime on your dots is less. And let me tell you, even a marginal decrease in the downtime on those dots means quite a lot. So, if you can get those 3 animation cancels correct and you get your rotation nice and tight, this build pulls a lot of damage. I'll go over the rotation again really quickly, just doing it at full speed, that way you can kind of get an idea of how to sort of judge your timing. We'll go from the start. Just a quick note on your ultimate usage. You don't want to use Flawless Dawnbreaker unless you're in Execute and you know you're not going to be able to get Standard back. But other than that, you always want to use Standard. The way you drop Standard is if it's ready on your back bar, then what you want to do is you want to drop it at the very end of your back bar rotation. So say, for example, you're on the portion where you're not re-upping Flames of Oblivion, then it would be Hail, Injection, Noxious Breath, Standard Swap. Or if you have to recast Flames of Oblivion, then you would cast Standard after you cast Flames of Oblivion. The reason you want it to be the last ability is so you can weapon swap the animation, because it takes a long ass time. And it saves you a lot of time. Yeah, basically. If you just keep it as the last ability on your back bar. So quickly, I'll be doing the rotation at full speed so you can get an idea. Well, my internet bugged out, so do it again quickly. 3 flames, trap, swap, hail, rejection, noxious, rapid, venomous, trap, 2 rapids, rending swap, hail, injection, noxious, flames of oblivion, standard, rapid strikes, venomous, trap, rapid, rending swap. So the animation, the rotation is just that through and through, very easy. But once you really master the animation cancelling and the weaving, you pull a lot of damage with this build. Just go over quickly a dynamic variation that you can do with this build is basically it's the same thing as that entire rotation, except you'll only be re-upping Flames of Oblivion off cooldown. So the same principle of using 2 rapid strikes in a rotation where you don't re-up Flames of Oblivion still applies, except you'll be swapping to your back bar if Flames of Oblivion goes down while you're on your front bar, for example. If you want to do it dynamic, you want action duration reminder, because you'll get that little timer on Flames of Oblivion. It really helps just for timing, as you might imagine. But the dynamic rotation is basically just the same rotation. So when Flames of Oblivion goes down like that, you want to swap to your back bar, and you want to re-up Flames of Oblivion. And it's just that, if it's dynamic. Standard usage, you want to keep exactly the same. Apart from that, yeah, that'll pull maybe 500 more damage. But, like I said, it's just a little bit more to concentrate on. Which, up to you. But my preference is just to keep it completely static. That way I can kind of just muscle memory everything while I focus on mechanics. Anyway, that's the build. Now we'll go into a pass, and you can see the build in action.